Sorry, I put that at the beginning. Thanks.
So it's just a fantastic strategy. On the right, Officer Morton, July 11th. He was the officer on night shift that was working on 224, made a routine traffic stop, and had another car come in and hit him. Accidentally totaled the back of the patrol car, struck him in the arm. Luckily, he was okay. That's the third officer in 30 months that's been struck by a car. So next slide, please. So the resource challenges. We are a 24/7 operation. Our minimum staffing is 2 officers and a sergeant. We currently are 33 sworn officers, but not all the officers are active all the time. We have officers in training. We have officers, we have more injuries in the last few years than typically we've had. We have employee leave, training, people are having families. When we hire a new officer, that's about an 18-month turnaround from those interviews to background, getting them to the police academy, back to our police department, training them, and then having them be able to be solo on their own. So it's quite a long and lengthy turnaround. We've had to mandate 12-hour shifts. We've done that twice in the last few years because our staffing levels fell so short. With Glenn, he only works Monday to Thursday. That need is 7 days a week, 24/7. Having another Glenn, which is part of what this proposal would support, would be a significant expense or significant help to us. Overtime. We're paying out $410,000 annually on overtime because we're so short-staffed. That means we need to hire more. And another example, there's things also we can't control. In June, we had an incident with a suspect whose name is actually Looney Tune that shot at some of our officers. That was a significant event. That was about $8,000 in overtime because of the detectives we paged out in the middle of the night. Captain Cheragino and I were looking for shell casings on 17th Avenue. Captain Cheragino, by the way, is much better at locating shell casings than me. And then working that case through the weekend with the marshals, finding the suspect the following week and getting him into custody because he's a clear threat to the community. Additional duties of the police officers. We're members of regional task forces. We do human trafficking missions. We're part of the Clackamas County SWAT and we're crisis negotiators. CRAFT is the countywide crash, usually like a fatal accident scene crash reconstruction team. And we do human trafficking missions and retail theft missions. One of our detectives, Catherine Meyer, she also has an electronic detection dog. She does an amazing job for it. She's one of the lead negotiators on the crisis negotiation team that works with SWAT. So she wears many hats. The neighborhood meetings and events. One of the things I think we pride ourselves on as a police department that we do that's different than other departments is we go to all the NDAs. So when we walk into those, they say, hey, Ryan, hey, Tony, hey, Greg, or they know us by first names. And that's essential to have that strong foundation with your community so they can talk to us about problems and we can problem solve together. Attending city events, Pride, Milwaukee Fest, the Umbrella Parade, Shop with a Cop at Christmas. We just did a golf fundraiser for that event and it does incredible work. They raise like $25,000. All that gets invested back into the local campaigns. It's just community policing and that outreach is a critical part. It just gets a lot harder when you start to get so short.
Thank you, Chief. We're going to transition now to talking kind of similarly from the library perspective, what they're seeing as impact on services.
Thanks. I'm Brent Usher, Library Director here. Much like police, there are additional duties and responsibilities in the library. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the numbers and what's happening. We are still doing all of the same traditional library services that you would expect. But in this time of acute need, there are other things that we are doing to make sure our neighbors are connected with and are taken care of. We have, in addition to those traditional services, we still have the materials, we still have the programs, and in some ways we are, in fact, many traditional ways you measure business libraries, like library cards or materials checked out or people coming in the door. We are as busier than we've been in like the last decades. We see between 600 and 800 people walking in our library every day. So in addition to just those traditional things, which people are trained to do and they signed up for, we're also doing sort of daily triage. I'm gonna give you some numbers, both in behavioral issues that are increasing and really just people in crisis that need help. PD is great, Glenn is great, and we built some partnerships and I'll talk through it. But in the end, police can't always be with us, our partners can't always be with us. We have to continue to do that work. So one of the ways that we've done that is we've really worked with Glenn and police and Don above one. So we are known to have a Tuesday drop-in where folks who need connected services can come and talk to someone about housing or food assistance or any of the things that someone might need. But here's the thing, when you are that spot where people can come ask for help, it doesn't matter if it's a Tuesday morning. Folks are still gonna come and seek help any day that you're open. We're a 7-day-a-week operation and we do our best. So in addition to like those drop-ins, the chief is very regularly getting texts from me or one of our staff, sort of making these connections happen. As I mentioned, it's near daily triage, and I'll do numbers in a moment, where we're connecting people to the services that are available in our community. It's the police chief, the captains, our behavioral health specialists, and level one staff, but they're regularly showing up outside of that Tuesday. We have also a large commitment to the extended hours at the cooling center. It's a citywide effort. The library opens up, extends our hours to make sure people are safe during heating events. But here's some numbers of ways in which folks have been served at the library between July 24 and this recent June. We've seen 171 people be served on those Tuesday mornings connecting services. We've seen 288 clients served at our monthly parole and probation drop-in sessions. We'd like to talk about that. That is another place where like library is a safe place and people are able to connect to resources and it keeps them on a path not being reincarcerated. We've handed out 1,300 bottles of water or granola bars, and we've done 10 cooling center days in the last year. So keeping people safe. Most of the time, it's really great at the library. Come on in if you haven't been. Come on in if you haven't been. But when it's bad, it's really bad. And like usually my job is to talk about how great things are, but there are some breaking points if we don't at least consider it. And you may be wondering how is library part of public safety. One of the things they implemented just about 2 years ago from now, sorry, 2 years ago, was an incident reporting system. It's a communication system that makes sure our city leadership and our police and partners know when incidents happen. So in that period of 2 years, incidents severe enough to record or social service referrals that again, severe enough to record. We received 323 of those in that year. 35% of those, so over a third, required police follow-up or social services follow-up. And that's kind of a proxy that doesn't really take into account all the other times that we are working through or directly connecting folks on a smaller scale. Like we've handed out shoes, we've given coats. There have been a number of times that people don't have those things and we are literally giving it to them. Safety and support by the numbers. We've made 67 calls to 911. There have been 21 referrals directly to Glenn, 24 to Level 1. We've had 97 disruptive episodes in that period, 8 incidents of harassment, 10 incidents of destruction of city property. We've seen people in full crisis. My library team has come out at the end of the day, like people in tears who've lost everything. And we're kind of that front entrance to the city. And we're doing our best. So yeah, I'm just saying that like my team is probably, I don't want to crush them. And they're, we're helping because that's what we do. The need is here and we're gonna help. Yeah, and then also there have been like some dangerous things. Like multiple times my staff have been charged by people. One time someone ripped the glasses off the staff, glasses off one of my staff members' face. there was a computer thrown at someone before I started. So like there really are these things, and again, most of the time, great, great. But I say these things because there really are these moments, and when we're having those moments, we do need help. And police response has always been great. We have a good relationship, it's a good partnership. But I also want, there are 3 officers, right? And like, if there are other things happening, they may not be able to support us. So thank you. Just the resource counts, and I'll cut it pretty short here. Just know that that's a 7-day operation. We currently have 18.25 FTE. We have less staff today than about 10 years ago by about 87 hours a week. But we're doing all of our traditional things at almost the same numbers. And then we have that extra layer of very important work that I think is very hard to do. And I would say they're trained primarily for library services, not the social services piece, or behavioral health, or safety response. But we're gonna do what we have to do. We're gonna try to prepare them. And I just want to make sure that there's enough support for them. And I would say the other thing, that 7-day operation, there's a director and 2 managers in trying to cover that 56-hour operation and have the rest of that library team fully supported is hard. There's just only so much that's going on.
That's when it gets really bad. If you don't have a manager in the building, it gets really scary.
Yeah, and it's hard, and that's definitely not their job.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Chief. So, those are, I think, the 2 of the biggest pieces of that continuum of care, that support and that response piece. But I do want to touch briefly on the accountability piece. The city does have a municipal court. We handle citations and fees related to code or traffic violations here. During COVID, when totally understandably, those plummeted, people were not driving, people were not doing things. We reduced FTEs. We have 1 person in the city total that staffs court. Citations and trials are back or exceeding, they really are exceeding pre-pandemic levels, but we have not restaffed. Today was a court day. It's pandemonium if you're here on a court day. We do the best we can, but our lobby is packed. It's a full day slate of trials, still 1 person. And it's 2 court days a month. So that's a place as well where right now I don't have the resources to invest in bringing that back up. And what that means for our public is slower trial dates, is a longer wait time in line to get your court citation dealt with. So we want to be efficient and responsive in the accountability side, but that is also challenging in the resource environment we're in. We've talked to you a lot about problems. We've talked to you a lot about things that keep us up at night. And the ways that I think even with those real limited resources, we are doing our best to do the best for our community. But I worry that we will not be able to sustain that. Nor do I think it's enough. I think we absolutely need additional investment to be meeting the standards I have for the city and the standards I know our public has. Here's my wish list, okay? If I, as your city manager, could say, these are the critical gaps I'd want to fill to make sure I'm meeting community needs, this is what I would do. I would add an additional behavioral health specialist, another Glenn. That person would mean what you would see is we'd be able to provide that compassionate response for those in crisis, not just Monday through Thursday, not just during business hours, but over the weekends. We know those crises don't they don't limit themselves to those times. I would add a dedicated training officer at Milwaukee Police. The chief and I share very strong values and expectations for our department, and that starts with training. You can't just say you care about something, you have to train folks and equip them with the skills to do it. We do the best we can, we satisfy all of our mandatory training requirements, but I will be honest, we don't have the capacity to do more right now. If we could have a dedicated training officer, that would allow us to do in-house regular de-escalation, anti-bias skills training. And it would result in better equipped and prepared officers on the streets. I do think we need more patrol officers. That is critical if we're going to keep our good reputation of a 3 to 5 minute average response time. This is also the piece that's going to start paying us back. If we can get our staffing right, we can stop using overtime as much. And we can really stretch these dollars and these resources. And as the chief said, we have to have 3 officers on duty all the time. And then to bring it back to Brent's court, we do need more support of the library. All the things above help the library, but still with it's staggering, 250,000 people walking through the library doors a year, 250,000 visits a year. It is a wonderful resource. It's a super hotspot of activity, and it is also a super hotspot of safety incidents. And I do think we need more support for library patrons and staff, as well as sustaining the ability to provide the outreach and the support services we do. And then finally, I do think we need to add some more support for court so we have more efficient processing of tickets, trials, and citations. My team looked at this wish list, and we did start to put some numbers to it. I want to say that we at the city do a budget process. We do a biannual budget process, very public. And then we also do quarterly updates to our budget committee. So anytime I need to add a resource mid-cycle, I go there and I daylight it. Right now, I'm not asking council to fill these. That will all happen through a budget process, a transparent budget process. But for transparency for all of you, there are real numbers and real proposed people behind this. An additional behavioral health specialist, 1 training officer, 2 patrol officers, 2 staff at the library, and 1 staff at court. I want to be honest that those exact needs might change as we go through the budget process, but I wanted to let you know what we used to come up with this green number. The target, if I filled all of that continuum of care, it'd be about $900,000 to $1 million annually. And these aren't, I called it a wish list, but to me, these really aren't wish list items. These are essential items if we're going to maintain the services folks have come to expect. So Michael, our finance guy, is going to talk a little bit about if that's what we want to do, what was our proposal to guess?
Thank you. Just to start off, I not only work in the city, I live in the city. I have friends, family, neighbors, all that work here. And I don't take proposing this fee lightly because I am also, it's a fee that I have to pay. So I see both ends of it. I also see the need for public safety in the city. So I come from this speaking from both sides. How we treat public safety, we would like to treat more like how we treat utilities. So for example, if we have a water infrastructure need, we would go out, we look at the rates every 2 to 3 years, and we tinker with how our needs versus our rates so that we can supply adequate resources to get through. We want to treat the public safety fee much in the same way. We're bringing this to council to put on our adopted fee schedule, which they go through and look at yearly to make sure that the rates are meeting the needs of the city. This public safety fee would be the same way. If we go through it in 2 years, we're into it and we're like, hey, you know what, maybe we don't need as much. In the terms of like a court clerk, maybe we're getting back enough citation money from that that it's paying for itself. We can kind of tone those rates down. This would be reviewed annually. We take it to council and they would have the ability to kind of look at, okay, is this too much? Is this not enough? And kind of look at the need versus a property tax where that's a flat brush. And once you do it, you're not really turning that back. So other fees on the utility bill, we currently have a safe fee, which sounds much like a public safety fee, and we would like to change the naming of that. But what that really is a transportation fee that's paying for sidewalks and other transportation investments that we have in the city. That is different than this public safety we're proposing. We also have a streets and maintenance fee that's for transportation, and that's more for paving and road maintenance. You might see this month that engineering is out doing a lot of paving and road maintenance this month especially. So that's where those monies are going. Yeah, the water portion goes for the water infrastructure and operation needs. There's sewer and stormwater rates. So these are all the 5 mechanisms that go into the utility bill, and we're proposing to add a 6th onto that, which is the public safety portion.
And that last note on there is just, I think it's an obvious question, why can't we just use some of these to help public safety? These are tied to specific funds, they have to be used for those specific purposes, I can't use transportation dollars for police or library needs.
Specifically, this public safety fees would go into the city's general fund. I sit on a lot of finance committee boards, and this is a tool that's popular for cities our size in the region to fill that gap that Emma showed in the beginning. We are hamstrung because measures 5 and 50 that we can only hold a 3% increase per year. Unfortunately, costs don't match the 3% every year. Other cities, these are the examples that we've picked for other cities our size that have added this fee and what their fees currently are. So they range from 15 to 450 in the region. I went through, we're being extremely transparent with this slide. We went through and I did a number of scenarios to council on how we could structure this. Council, we pitched 5 different scenarios from $5 residential all the way up to $10 residential. For the fee that we landed on would be $7 per resident.
For single family.
For single family resident, I'm sorry.
Residential customer.
Residential customer household. $5 for multifamily, which is apartments. And then a tiered approach for commercial. So that's tied to trips data, and that's an engineering formula that they come up with that's tied to the estimated trips that are come to and from their establishment. Based on that, we did a tiered system for the minimum would be $5 and a maximum would be $50. And you can see here that we're kind of plotting out how much that we're anticipating to get per month. We're also, in this proposal, we're electing to exempt low income accounts from that, people on our low income program. We had a gentleman come into council 2 weeks ago and talked about that he was on a fixed income, he's a senior, he's been here for 20 years. This is the type of person that we want to help people who are on fixed incomes, and so in this example, we're kind of excluding them from this. The total annual revenue that we come up with is roughly $865,000. That doesn't match the needs of the 900 to 1 million that we've come up with. We understand that. This is something where we're just trying to start it, see how it goes, and as I said, in 1 to 2 years, we can see what that rate is and kind of bring a proposal to council on that to kind of reevaluate.
We also, again, as I mentioned, the overtime expenses, so if we start making some of these investments, I'm confident the overtime utilization will go down. And that allows us to maybe open up some of those other pieces of the wish list, so. This money, I think, can work for us.
One more thing is, something that sticks with me is Chief Burdick talked about. When he started here 20 years ago, that there was, I believe, 38 or FTE officers at that time. Through attrition, we're down to 33. So we've cut back over those years the number of FTEs, but the number of calls have gone up. And that's the big need I see for this fee, is that to bring those numbers back up. We've been doing a community outreach conversation tour, and this is kind of coming down to the home stretch. We started, as Emma said, with budget committee and council, and started with this in May and June. We've been going to local or city community groups, the equity steering committee. Brian and I went to the public safety advisory committee. Brent's gone to the library committee. And we're just trying to educate, get feedback, hear from you guys on what your appetite is for this. And we're culminating on August 19th that this goes to a vote to council.
And I really wanna emphasize that, so tonight, we're here to answer your questions, we're here to hear you. Good news, we don't have a quorum, so Mayor Beatty and Councilor Body, if you do want to engage, you can. But really, if you are wanting to speak to council, who are the decision makers here, we're not the decision makers. That August 19th meeting is a hearing, so there will be opportunities for public testimony at the end of our night tonight. I'll remind folks how they can give testimony at that time. But thank you, staff. Thanks all of you for hearing us out. We are now gonna turn the floor over to you. So again, I'm just gonna ask that we alternate between the room and Zoom. My folks on Zoom, you should be able to raise your hand if you wanna speak, and then I will allow you to talk when it's your turn. Try to keep to that 2-minute mark. I don't have the buzzer thing here, but I'll keep an eye on the clock. As you're speaking again, you're welcome to just say what's on your mind, but it's helpful if you can tell us, I do want a response to this. If again, I think we'll should be able to get through everything before we have to leave at 7:15, but if we don't, we've got those comment cards, you're welcome to send them in, and again, I'll tell the Zoom folks how to send them in. And just be mindful, I mean, we're a small enough group, everybody will be okay, but sidebar conversations make it really hard for our Zoom audience to listen, so let's try to have everyone speak one at a time. And then just last little reminders, let's be respectful. This is a charged topic. People have strong opinions. We respect them all. We just ask that everyone provide that respect to everyone speaking. And then finally, there may be a question you ask, great question that we can't answer. We promise to connect with you, get a comment card, get your details, and get you an answer tomorrow. With that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen just so that I can let our folks on Zoom see us more. And I will invite anyone who has a question to raise your hand. I'm gonna start with you.
Okay, it's all interesting and I agree that we need more money and, you know, things will change and blah, 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 you know, it's, I'm not questioning that. But I am like that gentleman that came in, you said a few weeks ago, the senior citizen on a fixed income. And here is 5, and I do have the low income water bill.
Okay.
And I thank you very much, it's very generous.
Yeah.
But it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yes.
I mean, my water bill would double
Yes.
every month if I didn't have it, and that would be a real problem.
Yes.
But also, so this is $5. Now, on my garbage bill that I got a week or so ago from Waste Management, on the back of it, it had gone up again, $6. And on the back of it, it said this was because of Milwaukee's fee. And questions called this number, so I called, and the woman I spoke to, I don't remember her name, it's very nice, but she was more clueless than not.
And she was from Waste Management.
From the city.
Was she from the city or Waste Management?
It's, well, the line on, it was. The bill said it was Milwaukee's tax or fee.
Okay.
And to call this number, and it was a Milwaukee number.
Okay.
So, and when she said that it was like, you know, like, well, you know, it's going up, gas going up, like, yeah, well, I pay your gas, who pay mine? But it's also, it's like, I said, I have the low income water bill. I'm on a fiscal, you know, do you have a low income garbage bill? Or, you know, no, they don't have any of that, they never heard of that, and it's just like, okay, so there's $6 on that garbage bill, my garbage bill's probably gone up $15
Yes.
in 2 or 3 years, and now this 5.
Yes.
So that, okay, so that's $6 and this is 5, so my social security in January. Did that go up more than $11? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
So yes, you need all these monies, and I'm not saying that you should pay it and I shouldn't. But just all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know, what do we do about this?
I hear you. I'll let Mike jump in too, but solid waste rates are very interesting. It is true that we have to adopt them, the city does, that's how our franchise works. But we don't get to pluck those out of thin air, we don't provide the waste service. We have to contract with those who do, and that's Waste Management, Goodview and Kahoot, as our 3 service providers. We do a rate study every year, we hire someone out to do that, and we get, and their rates are also set by Metro, who does all the different transfer stations. we have had many conversations with our council, and I'll let, our counselor speak if he'd like. About this and brought up that idea, when the city gets to control rates, we have put equity and income equity at the heart of it. That's why for our safe transportation fee, we exempt the low income account holders. This would be also exempt them. But we have heard the same thing. Well, that's not how we're set up to do this. I think we will continue to advocate for that, but we absolutely understand that whether it's city specific fees or fees that you have to pay from waste or from PGE or from Northwest Natural, that these things are going up. Our council has adopted a goal of affordability. Part of that is doing whatever we can to the rates we do control, but part of that is also advocacy to these other groups to say, get it under control.
Well, gas and electric, that you control yourself somewhat. I mean, it may only be a couple of dollars, but if it's really harsh, you really can control it and put on another switch.
Consumption.
You turn off a light.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, all that. I mean, I've always been very frugal. That's what I've lived all my life. And I don't fit any of those parameters, when they wanna do all these things, they want, if you use 200-300 kilowatt hours to get this rebate, I said, yeah, I don't use 100.
Yeah.
Oh, you're one of them. Yes, one of them. That's why I'm here. I mean, that's why I'm at this place in my life and I could do all the things that I do, is because I've done that for all my life.
If I could add real quick from the waste management point, because I don't know your specific situation. But they told me they don't offer low income rates, but they offer smaller cans.
I have the smallest amount of everything. I have the smallest garbage can, goes out once a month. I put out the yard debris every week. The blue barrel with the paper recycling goes out once a month, and the glass goes out maybe once or twice a year, because I just don't have that.
Absolutely.
You can't go any lower, you
Right.
can't get any smaller. And nothing is ever, well, the yard debris is full, but nothing else is ever half. And that's,
Yeah, and just to touch on that. I've mentioned to Metro as well.
I can't hear you.
I've mentioned to Metro as well about their fee increase, because a lot of it, it's not really even the haulers, they're having to raise their fees because of what Metro's really doing. So, and we're kind of at their mercy in a way, because we don't get the haulers and the trash is gonna sit there, so that's a tough one, and we've hammered Metro quite a bit. On trying to think of other ways to fund what they need. But the discounts are huge, and the discount for low income is gonna be huge too, but this is why it's so crucial that we have this affordability goal right now. Because this is coming from someone since I've been on council, I've been advocating for affordability. I've been advocating for ways for us to save money, and the reason why we've gone with this, just like our staff said, is because the other end would have been a tax increase, which on average would have cost about $20 to $30 per month on the Rockins on residents. So this was a lot less of that, and plus with the affordability goal that we have, we're really basically doing a massive overhaul of our rates for our water and our utilities. So the goal that we're having, we're looking at a number of different ways for people to be able to save money on the water. The idea that we want is to be able to increase the discounts for everyone across the board, so that at the end of the day, you have the ability to save more than just the increases. That these savings that you have not only eats the increase, but can still put a little bit of money back in your pocket. If you have the ability to save $15 to $20 a month in the water, you're not gonna feel a lot of these increases, even the ones from around the county or conventional. So that's why the affordability goal is so important. That's why we really felt that at this time, a tax increase is not the right idea, because that would have been probably about 3 times as much. And there's no low income discount from tax.
Thank you, Counselor. I'm just gonna try to keep us going with the kind of 2-minute rule. I don't know why it's trying to turn me to Persian. I am gonna rotate to a Zoom participant. I have Matt with his hand raised. I'm going to allow you to talk, Matt. If you can come off mute and say something.
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you.
Okay. Now I can't hear you, but maybe when I get remuted. It was mentioned about lowering rates. I'm just curious if there's any history of Milwaukee lowering a rate. secondly, you know, you mentioned the constraint of a 3% property tax increase per year, but like median household income over the last 10 to 15 years only goes up 1.9%. So even at a 3%, you know, like that's still outpacing people's own earnings. And so I guess like that's more a comment. My final question would be like a voter approved levy seems like I realize it's a higher amount, but that seems like a more democratic, you know, consensus. And so I don't know, I'd just say I'm more interested in that, and despite it, you know, being a higher amount would probably provide then, you know, like a greater buffer for funding this. I don't know, that's my opinion or comments on this. So
Thank you very much, Matt. I really
hopefully I can get the audio back once I'm done talking.
Can I offer one answer to that? Just one example this year, of lowering rates.
I know, sorry, I think y'all are muted.
I think, can you hear us? We should be unmuted.
Might not work.
The mic seems to be working.
Okay. Sorry, I saw the next to your name. I was
Yes,
wanting to make sure.
that's
Sorry.
this one, but thank you. Yeah.
I just wanted, he spoke about how we lowered fees before. This year, we lowered our parking permit fees. I forget what it was a certain amount a month, but we cut it in basically half. Because we found that we wanted to allow more parking within the city. And it's just one example of, we are trying to look at all of our fee schedule and do a whole examination of it, of what works. And I know typically in government that you don't always see lowering, but we are trying to be the most efficient and bang for the buck that we can. And I just think like the parking is one example of how we've tried to do that. There's not a lot of examples, but it's something that we look at.
We also ended library fines on July 1.
Another
Yeah.
example.
I'm sitting here at Portrait.
As long as you check out.
And the last example, and I'm sorry, I was looking up because I don't want to misspeak. I will confirm this and can recircle back, but we did lower, I want to say it's the water fixed charge in the last biennial rate update. That's an example of where, because we're treating the utility needs fluctuate, we look at that and we do set rates based on those needs. Might have been the wastewater, but I do remember one of our fixed charges did go down, so. Thanks. Thank you very much, Matt. I'm gonna take another question from the room. Andy?
A couple from different people.
Okay.
Lines, that's okay. The first question was why multifamily is being built different.
Sure. Michael, do you wanna take that one?
Yes, how it's structured in the city is that everything is based on trips data. And single family residence is kind of your bar at 1. And so multifamily apartments are considered 2/3 of a normal residential based on trips. So that's where we get it. The theory is that more people are living in a single family residence so that there's more people there and more trips through that. So when we did this, we tried to come up with the fairest system and also the easiest to administer. And there's not a perfect way for everything. We're trying to get there and we worked with council on it, but this was the way that we found to be the most fair.
Excellent explanation, Mike, and I would just say when we first brought this to budget committee back in May, we actually proposed a flat all the way across the board. That is how most other cities that have this have done it. Our council asked that we model it more like our safe transportation fee, which does the tiering for commercial and uses a trip-based approach. So that's why you see the differentiated in the different rate classes.
Thank you. That ties into the second question.
Great.
Trips.
Yes.
Commercial and businesses.
Yes.
This is a big concern. It's something that we've been talking to Joseph for a year about.
Yeah.
It puts somebody a great example locally, Good Measures in the state ballpark and St. B as new seasons, which clearly they're not the same business. I understand this is being tied to trips.
Sure. It's a really great point. The trips data is imperfect. And I'll be the first to admit that. And But and when we were directed by council to come up with a way to scale rates for different types of commercial customers, we thought a lot about how can we do that? What's a data set that we have that we feel semi-confident in and that we can operationalize from an administrative space? Because if I was to pick a totally different metric where I don't have the data, that's probably you need to add another utility billing person to figure that out. Because the safe fee, the safe transportation fee is already utilizing the trip data, that is what we propose back to council. I do think we are overdue a update of the trips data, an audit of that. Part of our financial stability strategy is that kind of audit. I've talked about parking rates as one that we've looked at, so we will be doing that. I take the feedback, it's imperfect, and I think it's the best we've got for the direction we got from our budget committee and our council.
It'd be an appeal opportunity for specific businesses that maybe are.
I was gonna mention that, I'm kind of going out on a limb because we haven't talked about this, but I would think so, and this is an example of. Why this mechanism is better over a property tax, because you can come to us and talk to it and talk to council. And we have the ability to move in those rates, where in property tax, it's a flat fee.
I think that'd be a great question for our council to ponder, and not tonight, but and think about providing direction to staff on.
Last question, Mike, just you kind of answered it already, but any excess goes, or all of this is going into the general fund. So any excess will be clearly tracked and reviewed for all fees collected and accounted for in budgeting.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it is for transparency, this goes to general fund. I don't have a police fund. And as you've heard tonight, it is a police fee, so that wouldn't necessarily work, but it would be very transparent or tracked. This is the revenue generated from the public safety fee, and we would report on how those are spent. And one value of mine, the reason I brought that wish list up here is, if this passes, I want to be able to report back in a year, here's what I have been able to do with the revenue that it's generated.
Thank you so much.
I would make a pitch here too, that all of our city finances are online, we have an ACFR for every year.
Our audit document.
Yeah, our audit document, and so we're audited on this and we report it. It's not gonna be broken out line item, but it's gonna be in there, so transparency is, it's all about.
Sir?
Yes, so it's funny, I came in with a very long list of questions and statements, and I've kind of been over here drilling it down into one.
Okay.
Although it is a little bit of a long, I think I'm gonna get to about the 2-minute mark here. So starting with this, really, actually, I wanna start by saying, I'm here as somebody who is rent burdened. I pay more than a paycheck every month in rent. My utility bills have more than doubled in the past year. You are welcome for the record profits, PGE. You are welcome for the record profits, Northwest Natural. Those executive bonuses, those are coming out of my pocket, you're welcome. So I want to point out and add to that any sort of a flat tax, flat fee like that is inherently regressive. $5 to $7 might not be much, but it's more to me or to her than it is to y'all. So I don't love the regressive nature of that. I also think that the idea that police are a utility, and that's why this should be added to a utility bill, I think that's, respectfully, I think that's kind of ridiculous. The funding is totally different. We pay utility bills, we don't pay the police a bill every time they. So I don't think that that's a good justification. So in looking at this, there is police calls have gone up while staffing hasn't changed. It's the number of police, more patrol officers. You refer to it as a police fee, like it's a police fee, which is fine, it can be. But in preparing for this, I spent some time looking at the budget document. You're welcome. And in looking at page 139 of the budget, it looks like the budget has in fact grown by $2.25 million in the past 5 years. So I'm struggling with the assertion here on this document that needs have increased, but resources haven't. I mean, they have by $2.25 million over 5 years. And that budget also contains line items like 3 to 4 new police cars a year at $60,000 a year, $115,500 a year in online training, a $600,000 a year dispatch contract with the city of Lake Oswego. Some of that looks like a spending problem to me. Getting to my question, given that the primary issues cited here have been overdoses, homelessness, economic pressures, and mental health crises, and given the success that Glenn or programs like Portland Street Response have had in dealing with those specific issues, how is it determined that more cops is the solution? Because apparently, in my mind, it should be more behavioral health specialists. We have one, not more police.
Yeah.
And to kind of capitalize on what this gentleman on Zoom said, we're proposing a levy to have more behavioral health specialists for more library safety. That's cool with me. We're jacking up your utilities to hire more police because the cops are a utility. I don't love that. So my question, just to reiterate, how is it determined that more cops was the solution and not more behavioral health specialists?
Thank you so much for your question. Thank you for the research you did. I really appreciate it. Happy to provide my answer and have my team provide their answer. So first, I just want to clarify my statement. I was trying to say this is not a police fee. This is not. I'm intentionally saying I could have come to you and said it's a police fee, but then I would have been here with my police chief and not these staff, because I firmly believe our public safety continuum of care is a continuum of care, and that's why I'm not. That list does not just include patrol officers. Second thing I would say is I think you make very valid points, and we do a budget process that is transparent where you get to talk to the policymakers who vote on the budget. So you've seen your city manager's current list of where I think those investments would be needed given the data I have available to me and the workload I see across my team. But there is nothing stopping you all and stopping my council from saying, okay, well, we would actually direct you to spend more of that money on a behavioral health side than on the patrol side. So I want to just say, again, this isn't a budget ask right now. This is a ask to create the investment that allows us to invest in those kinds of areas. I think that I'm going to let the chief kind of help me out on the reason for the patrol piece. I hear you. I mean, the drive of a lot of this is behavioral health, and we 100% agree that we need another Glenn, probably another 5 Glens. I do think, though, those 21% increase in calls over the last 5 years are not solely behavioral health calls. We are seeing an increase in other types of crime and other traffic safety incidents. I appreciate you bringing up the police car number. I will be honest, and my team's gonna probably not let me say this. I don't like spending money on cars. I really don't.
Right, and one of my other questions was that one of the budget line items is for a car that was totaled last year. Like, does the city not have insurance? Why am I paying for that?
Great question.
I have lots of questions.
Great question.
I'll
These are wonderful.
online here.
We
Sorry.
do have insurance, and I wish our insurance covered the cost of a total car, and fortunately, government insurance does not. And we really wish our police cars would stop getting hit. But 3 officers getting hurt in the last 30 months is something we would love to see go down. I hate totaling cars and I hate replacing them, but that is another indicator of, I think, the frankly increase in safety incidents that are happening, which is just my why behind what you saw there, which you are absolutely allowed to disagree with. I think I'm gonna have Chief add anything else you want to add on.
Yeah, I would just say just like a touch point, a data point for police cars is we've had probably 5 police cars total because we're out with somebody that was in someone's yard at 3 a.m. We made an arrest, and then unrelated to that, the DUI driver hits our car, totals the car.
Oh, yeah.
That person's uninsured. Last month, our officers doing a traffic stop, another uninsured motorist comes through. We've had stolen cars where we've attempted to contact the person, they ram their way out, strikes one of my officers. And it is incredibly difficult to budget how many police cars do I need based on how many people are gonna keep totaling my cars.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to get too far into the weeds.
Totally.
Well, it's just-
I apologize.
Yeah.
No, it's okay, but it just, we have had more safety related events in the last 5 years than my first 20. You know, I've had 2 of my female staff assaulted, one left to go to a lower pace agency, the other required several months of medical light duty because she had to have a surgery. So with those injuries that occur, people go on, admin leave or they get injured, they have families, so the parental leave. I have an active National Guard, 3 still serving members, they go on military. So our staffing numbers start to fall. And I gotta be honest, there's less people applying for this job than ever before. It's really hard. Last couple of years, houseless, fentanyl, that's exploded. So the mental health, having Glenn is something I wish we had 20 years ago. It makes so much sense. But sometimes we have to have a police officer with that behavioral health. Because sometimes it's just not safe. Those calls are just exponentially going up. And we have to have the staff to do the work.
And I appreciate also that when we say resources haven't increased, it's, the cost of every resource goes up. So yes, 2.25 million increase in the
Yeah.
budget, I totally hear you, but
Yeah.
we haven't added at the end.
Right, yeah, and I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, well, payroll went up, and then I crunched the numbers, and I was like, oh, that's like $500 a person a month, like that's
Yeah.
nuts, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Can I
yeah,
address one thing?
of course,
And this is, I'm totally being respectful. When you were saying like, you're tying this to the utility fee and it's a police, or they're 2 separate things. I totally agree with you. But the difference is when you call the police or you call the fire department, we're not asking your income if you can pay for this or anything for that. They're just coming out there.
I agree.
And I know that you know this. I can't think of a better mechanism for that in order to subsidize this. And so I get your point and I agree with you, but I don't know what a different scenario is. Because if it's out there, we're open to it.
I think I respect, you don't have to agree with me on the utility piece. I think to me, the parallel with utilities is I have other services in my city that in good times I invest in and in bad times I understand I restrict. But drinking water, being able to flush the toilet, being able to make sure your street doesn't flood and being able to get a police officer when you absolutely need them, those to me are core services. So I totally respect your opinion on the utility piece, but in that idea of treating it like other core infrastructure or core services, that's really where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me, yeah.
Hey, I just want to say, I appreciate all your questions. This is fantastic. I'd love to chat with you some more about
Sure.
this. One thing about the increase of police, this has been brought up before, is like, how is an additional officer gonna reduce the overdoses? Well, the thing that's where we have our behavioral health specialists, but where the officer's gonna come in, our Glenn's not gonna go after the distributors.
Right.
So that's the big thing. If we can get the distributors off the street, then that's gonna have an immediate impact on the overdose as well, if we take over access.
Yeah.
Also, you've seen nationally what's been going on with police. With our department, I think our department is quite different and actually sets the standard in working. But if we want better performance and better standards from our police officers, we need to provide them better environment for working. What I mean by that is, as somebody who's been in combat myself as a veteran in Iraq, expecting somebody to be on a 12-hour shift with a gun and to make split-second decisions between life and death, you're gonna get mistakes, you're gonna have problems, and then what happens is that in the court of public opinion, our officers get a story. So if we want to be able to combat that, then let's put them in a better position than a 12-hour shift. Because then they only got 12 hours to be with their family, take care of their life stuff, or they're back on shift with that adrenaline. That's what keeps them going, is the adrenaline. It's not coffee. I promise you that.
And to speak to that, I was a soldier a long time ago. And the theory is you train hard by easy. I'm not trying to set a fight, but we have to train. And we're trained to be better. To do the right type of policing that the city expects. And to speak to the drug task force, the county has a drug task force team. We pulled our detective out of that 10 years ago. We have it in place. All the officers carry fentanyl, and when they're Johnny on the spot, or sorry. But
You say that a little louder, so yeah, like.
But that's critical. They make critical saves. Like if you go out to my car right now behind the driver's seat, I've got. Okay.
Glad you're set up for that.
Yes.
I love all our enthusiasm, and I'm gonna get through questions. So I saw Tyler's hand, and I think there's Mike in the back and over here. Tyler, start?
Sure, 2 quick things. If we're looking at this, this through kind of infrastructure lens, I'm curious about where our SDC fund is. We've had a lot of new construction. I'm wondering
Yeah.
if that's a place that, if we're looking at through it, this infrastructure lens that we can pull from. I don't know what's there, what's not there. And I know there's restrictions to that. So that's my first question. And then secondly, I just was, when I see like the behavioral health specialists, I agree with, I think everyone here that that's a big piece of the puzzle. I think that, it comes down to the county's role as sort of the needy and the naughty, and I'm wondering why it seems like that might be a county thing, and
Sure,
if,
yeah.
why we're not, is that a city role to expand that, or is that more leaning on the county for that need, because it's kind of needy and naughty?
Yeah.
Is my thought.
Both great questions. I'll try to answer them quickly. On SDC, it's a really good thought, and SDCs are very restricted. We have to use them for development or capital related expenses. We're actually having an SDC 101 at the study session on September 9th.
That sounds great.
So fun. So come on down this room, September 9th in the evening, SDC 101, that'll be a
Perfect.
And then to your second question, it's this been raised by community members, been raised by some council members. I don't disagree with you. We are not a public health authority. The county is the public health authority. I think the reason you see cities taking this up is that we frankly aren't seeing it happen, and it needs to happen. And so we take it into our own hands, and we've done the Glens. There's been some glimpses of good things as the Metro SHS funding has come through the county, and there's been some other cities who have been able to get behavioral health support. We asked for it, they said, you have Glen. So we didn't get that grant. So we will continue to try, and we will continue to push. I talked about Hillside or affordable housing and the stabilization center, both county projects. Very happy to have them in Milwaukee. Please trust that we're also, as we're in those conversations, really pushing that they also pay their fair share of the impact that will have on.
I'm Carla.
Hi, Carla.
Thanks for the meeting.
Thank you.
I'm dipping my toe in this, but I personally don't like the idea of this going into a general fund. I can't tell you how to run anything, but that's usually just a bottomless pit, and I know you want to keep track of it and stuff. You've mentioned that you had 6 category, I think, circles. They were gonna add to, why wouldn't that get its own fund?
Sure.
Instead of putting it in general fund?
Yeah.
I would feel more comfortable with that.
Yeah, great.
Stabilization center, where is that gonna be located?
It's on McBroad. It's the county-owned facility. It was the women's center or shelter.
Work release.
Work release center. Thank you very much. On McBroad.
So is there some way to get that pressure off the library? I mean, it seems like the library is kind of being used and abused as a center. You would never suspect.
Yeah.
That you guys are doing what you're doing. I personally think that's not correct way to use your library. You know, maybe to tell people where to go to get services, but to the extent that you guys are having to do that is sure nuts to me, but anyway.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we are open to everyone. And so it's either people are here or they're not. And we don't ask people to leave unless they're in violation of some behavioral thing. And then we really are balancing care and accountability. So as soon as folks are out of line with sort of being in the public space, we will work to move them on. But on the other end, like libraries have always kept the information and the resources. And if we didn't continue to do that, it's not that the need would go away, it would just be in our streets, it would be in our parks and different places. So it's sort of like, it's almost like it's the symptom that we're talking, it's actually the symptom we see in police as well. It's everywhere, but most of the time it's okay.
But I do think when the stabilization center is up, in those cases where it crosses that line and you're calling for police assistance, the vision is those people that don't get taken to jail, they get taken to stabilization.
So one other thought, you're talking about 3 police, 1 behavior person and a trainer. So what if you backed it off a bit and said, okay, 1 or 2 extra police? Ratchet down the overtime on the other guys, maybe hopefully they're not working 12 hours, maybe working 9, which I hate to do that, but it's better than 12. And then you have a behavior person, which sounds like what you really need, so focus on that too. And then the trainer seems, I don't know, have a person come in once a quarter or something would be better than nothing, but not spending a whole year's worth of salary or whatever on that. Kind of just massage those things around and get something covered more.
So it's great feedback, and again, this is why any budget ask for a new staff member, any of that is going to happen through the budget process, and there will be a hearing for a chance for folks to come in and talk about that. This was sort of our initial proposal, and how we got to that target number, but I think the many, pieces of feedback shared today are good.
So is there a main location that this stuff is happening in Milwaukee, and is there an age group that's focused on the problems you're dealing with? A location and an age?
So there's different calls for service areas that we get quite a bit. We're coming downtown all the time. That's one of our primary. Some of the other locations, Safeway, New Seasons, great stores, quite a bit of theft or shoplifting's occurring. Age varies, but the amount of mental health and houseless calls are exceptionally high. And that's every city. I go to an area chief's police meeting, we're all talking about not having enough staffing and trying to address the mental health, the addiction issues, the houseless issues.
It's the hardest thing for us to do.
Yeah.
And I would say another hotspot is the Hillside Development, which is our like lowest income county run facility. Is when it was 200 units was already a hotspot for generating calls. It's going to become 500 units. We're supportive of that. We need more affordable housing in this community, but just from a supply demand standpoint, we expect a significant increase in.
Is that
calls per
county?
service.
I don't remember, is that county supplied housing?
County supplied housing.
Seems like the county should chip in extra,
Okay,
but
well-
but that's gonna.
That's to Tyler's point,
Yeah.
something we are advocating for about this weekend. Mike, did you have a question?
I'm good.
Bernie?
I have a lot to say, but there it is. This is not the forum. Right? I will do that.
Just a clarification.
Sure.
Because at the last meeting, I thought it was for single family homes, it was going to be more like 7.
It is, sorry, 7 for single family,
Okay.
it's 5 for multifamily, and then it's tiered for
Right,
commercial.
okay.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions?
Can I just real quick respond to the behavioral health thing, with the library? You mentioned like giving them resources. My day job is in behavioral health. I work all day on placing people, detox, inpatient services, outpatient, crisis stabilization. And I'll tell you what's the common thing that I hear, everybody begs on me, sometimes cry to me on the phone saying, don't just give me resources, tell me where I need to go. Because when you're in a crisis, and as somebody who's constantly recovering myself, it's hard to self-advocate. And when you get 10 phone numbers and you're calling 10 places and every one of them tells you no, you tend to want to give up. And that can even lead to even worse circumstances. So in that moment, having an advocate there with you, the chances of you getting the treatment and actually applying it is a lot higher. So as much as it is, we don't want to put all that stress on them. Because of these unfunded mandates, like the county putting Hillside here, which is great, but they're not paying for extra officers, they're not paying for public safety, they're not paying. And then the state unfunded mandates, as a city, we have an obligation to the people that we serve to help protect them, to provide for them and to give them the needs that they're asking for. If the state and the county refuses to do it, then it's on us to do that. They're gonna put it on us, I'm not, and nobody's here willing to say, let it go.
Right, folks, we're a little past the 7:15 mark, so I'm going to move us to the end. Thank you again so much for spending your time with us this evening, for your really thoughtful comments, feedback, and questions. We really appreciate it. Again, we're not your decision makers. Your decision makers are city council, and they will be considering this on Tuesday. You can, starting now, write them testimony, your thoughts. You can do that via email by emailing ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. You can also attend the meeting either virtually or in person, and testify then as well. And again, they may vote it down, but if they vote it up and it is approved, it would be implemented on the November or December bills. I really appreciate you all being here. We had way too many snacks. Stock up as you leave. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks to our Zoom audience as well.
And I'm here, I'll be outside if anybody wants to chat. Unless you want to speak, I've got against it. Wants to talk to us.